Alright, hey, welcome to an old video, actually. This is editing Retcon on a very rainy Saturday afternoon, finally getting off my ass and re-editing the Char's Counterattack video and re-uploading it. So this is a video that originally came out last year at some point. I think it's been over a year at this point. It was up for quite a while, but demonetized, which was fine for me at the time. I didn't really care. I do kind of care now. I didn't care back then. Then after it was up for like 6 months, it got taken down completely, blocked worldwide. So now that I've re-edited it to possibly fit within the YouTube copyright system a little bit better, here it is. Keep in mind, I had to re-record a little bit of the audio because I didn't have the project file anymore. I only had the finished product, so I had to like go in and clip that all up. The only alternative was completely re-recording and redoing the entire video with the old script, and I didn't really want to do that. I thought this might be an interesting thing for people to see, maybe how far my quality has changed, because you're seeing a video from about over a year ago. So obviously you can enjoy shorter hair and fatter me. Yeah, so I apologize for the audio quality. It's a little bit worse than my videos are now. And also I didn't know how to set up a camera with my glasses, so like enjoy the really terrible glare on my glasses the whole time. Obviously fix that later. Also, there were no memberships at the time, so the members do not get thanked in the end card. So I'm going to go ahead and thank the channel members now. Zappa Slave, Canto 20, John Lamb, Joe Castellanos, Trey Hardy, Gert, McLean Nugent, Johnny G, Daniel Johnson, Argent Griever, Yo-Yo Mitch, aka Batosai, D Mells, Danky Stank, Swanky Mank, Video Game Player 75, and Brian Sanchez. Thank you guys so much for being members all this time. It really does mean a lot to me, especially like you guys that have been, joined 7-8 months ago. Again, thank you guys a ton. Without further ado, let's get on to this video. Hopefully it stays up, and I hope you enjoy. By the year 1988, Mobile Suit Gundam had become incredibly popular in Japan. 3 anime series spanning 140 episodes, countless toys and plastic model kits, and a series of theatrical compilation movie releases had cemented the franchise as a household name. So it was no surprise that Sunrise would go on to greenlight the very first full-length Gundam movie that wasn't a compilation recap of prior works. Notably the first Gundam media to make use of CG animation and directed by series creator Yoshiyuki Tomino. It was also adapted from a novel written by Tomino in years prior. Char's Counterattack was a success at release, selling over 1 million tickets at the Japanese box office and earning about $8 million in revenue. The movie offered a thrilling conclusion to fan-favorite rival ace pilots Amuro, Ray, and Char Aznable, with dazzling animation and heart-pounding action through its nearly 2-hour runtime. It brings the series full circle, finally bringing back the original characters and also giving them closure. Char's Counterattack would figuratively close the book on the original Mobile Suit Gundam saga, and while it would only really be the ending to the first arc of the Universal Century's vast timeline, back in 1988 it was the final word on Gundam's overall themes and storylines. Where Mobile Suit Gundam Double Zeta went in a different direction, adding slapstick humor and an overall lighter tone to the franchise that was really not well received, Char's Counterattack is all business in comparison. It takes a decidedly more serious tone through its entire runtime, no space for jokes here. Which is honestly probably a really good thing, because some of the events that happen in CCA are just too heavy for a man like Marshmallow to alleviate. As with the last few videos, general spoiler warning for Char's Counterattack, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but there are certain things I will have to talk about, especially at the beginning of the story. With that being said, hey there and welcome to the Mobile Suit Gundam Retrospective, a YouTube series where I have decided to take a look at the granddaddy of mecha anime, Mobile Suit Gundam, and all of its many iterations. If this happens to be your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy this exploration of the capstone of the original Gundam saga. So without further ado, this is Mobile Suit Gundam, Char's Counterattack. The movie opens as new character Chan Agi gets a sneak peek at the brand new Gundam model on the lunar city of Von Braun. Good thinking, Sunrise, give us a sneak peek of that cool mech right at the start. We then cut directly to police brutality as another blue-haired woman and her friends run from the cops in Tibet. This girl is Kes Pariah, the 13-year-old daughter of a high-up Federation official. Kes ends up playing a rather large role in this movie, especially in the development of one of our other protagonists, Hathaway Noah, and with Hathaway being the protagonist of some newer Gundam media, you can say she has an effect on later Universal Century events as a whole. The reason I point this out in particular is because I'm not really sure how to feel about her character. I'll go into more detail later, but for now, it just feels like they tried to do a Rekko Alon style arc for her and didn't have time to really fulfill that. Plus, more than one adult character in this movie manipulates and grooms her. It's a point that Gundam keeps bringing up, and in Char's Counterattack in particular, it's incredibly blatant, as I'll explain in a bit. Back above Earth, we hop right into the action as the forces of Londo Bell, a special military task force, and Neo Zeon face off in the atmosphere. Sometime after the end of Double Zeta, Char returned to the remnant of Neo Zeon and took control. 6 years later, after the first Neo Zeon war depicted in Mobile Suit Gundam Double Zeta, Zeon has returned, fully mobilized and with a concrete goal: to drop a meteor on Earth and cause a global ice age. This would be a world-ending event, causing all human life to freeze to death and requiring anyone who wanted to live to flee into space. To achieve this goal, Char's fleet successfully drops an asteroid known as Fifth Luna onto Earth. Frustrated and fed up with Federation incompetence, Amuro Ray heads to the moon to pick up what he believes to be a tool that could win the war. As an opening set piece, this battle is awesome. Char's Counterattack had a relatively high budget for an animated film at the time. Japan was still in its 80s bubble economy, so a lot of revenue was being brought in by animated properties. And boy does it show. First of all, this film looks immaculate when it comes to modeling and animation. I could very rarely catch instances of mechs being off-model or simplified in the distance. The designs of the suits are absolutely top-notch here as well, with Char's Sazabi being huge and intimidating, with a really bulky design. Amuro pilots a prototype mobile suit at the beginning of the film called the Ragazi. Yeah, I pronounced it Re-GZ forever, until I saw the dub. Ragazi sounds really weird to me, but whatever. It's based off the Zeta Gundam and is really sleek looking. I just love its design. We catch back up with Kes and the newly introduced Hathaway Noah aboard a civilian transport headed to a colony. They narrowly miss being atomized by the meteor, and I just want to say that I watched both the sub and dub in preparation for this video, and for the dub they really gave the pilot this stereotypical pilot voice.
There it is. It's further north than I expected.
This is your captain speaking. If you look out the starboard window, you'll see a giant fucking meteor. Today's in-flight entertainment will be Stuart Little 2. Thank you for flying Air Gundam. Have a nice day. Also, during this whole snafu, Kes just, spits on her dad. Fuck yeah, spit on him. Anyway, Kes, Hathaway, and her father arrive aboard the Rakylum, and we find out that Hathaway is Bright's son. I mean, we already knew that, unless you hadn't seen Zeta Gundam or Double Zeta. Char's Counterattack is best viewed with in-depth knowledge of the Universal Century events and battles up until this point, in my opinion. However, the movie does put in a genuine effort to throw a lot of exposition at you if you happen to have not seen Zeta or Double Zeta. In Japan, I can imagine that a lot of Char's Counterattack's target audience had probably seen the Gundam compilation movies, but had missed all the stuff that was on TV. So it's possible to get into CCA with very little prior knowledge of what's going on, but I think you're going to be a little lost. It'll be a really pretty light show, though. So yeah, Londo Bell fails and Char is able to successfully drop 5th Luna onto Earth. Lhasa Tibet, to be precise. Sorry, people that live right here, I guess. Unfortunately for Char, one giant rock isn't enough to complete his plan. Unless he can drop something else onto Earth, his Ice Age idea won't come to fruition. Amuro and Chan, who have a really cute relationship in this movie, pick up the new Gundam from Anaheim Electronics on the moon. While there, they have a discussion about the use of psychoframes, a new technology that allows new-type pilots to control their mobile suit much more freely, with faster reaction times and increased speed and power. This is a development of the Psycommu technology that we've seen in shows like Zeta with the Psycho Gundam. It's really interesting to see the tech progress as the Universal Century moves on, and the Psycho frame itself plays a huge part in the ending of this movie and in the plots of later series such as Gundam Unicorn. The Rakylum arrives on the Side 1 colony of Londinian, where Adenauer Pariah has a very important meeting with some very important people. Most importantly, Char shows up in secret right under the nose of Londo Bell forces. We see the meeting between Federation officials and Zeon representatives, which seems more friendly than you would think, seeing as how this psychopath just dropped a meteor on the Earth. But then again, as Gundam has illustrated time and time again, the Federation really just doesn't care. We saw it in the original MSG, where they used the White Base as an experiment, constantly sending them on missions where they were way out of their depth. In Zeta, their incompetence in ruling the colonies after Zeon's defeat gave rise to the fascistic power of the Titans and the rise of Axis Zeon. And then in Double Zeta, they were so apathetic about doing literally anything that they just tell the crew of the Argama to go deal with Neo Zeon themselves, only swooping in at the last second to clean up. So it's no surprise when the Feddies decide to just give Neo Zeon Axis, the former home base and giant meteor of the Zeon remnant. In return for this gift, Char agrees to disarm his fleet while moving Axis, a promise that I'm sure he won't break because Char is completely trustworthy, you know? It's after this meeting that Captain Bright is informed that Char paid off the Federation with suitcases full of gold bars, and they agreed to a secret treaty. Bright obviously knows this is complete bullshit because Char is the most manipulative, compulsive liar in the universe. While all this is going on, Amuro, Hathaway, and Kess are going around the landscape of the colony in a jeep when they come upon Char riding a horse. I want to add that Char could have just left, but he craves drama so much that he seeks Amuro out. He even has a little monologue about how he's going to do something very wicked.
Amuro, I'm doing something extremely wicked. If you're nearby, feel my presence.
I'm not going into the city.
Yes, sir.
And do something very wicked he does, because once the old rivals meet up, Char gets back to his old tricks of grooming women and kidnaps Kess. Kidnaps is a strong word here, as she gets in Amuro's way in order to go with Char. Kess is a person who is infatuated with new types, mentioning that she studied the philosophy of them in India. When she first met Amuro aboard the Rakylum, she was interested in him and wanted to get close to him. When she finally talks to him, she isn't really impressed, saying that he just reminds her of any adult. When she meets Char, on the other hand, she is instantly infatuated with the supreme leader of Zeon and believes he's what a new type should be. She totally falls into his philosophy as well. We as the viewer know that it's mostly because Char is a completely manipulative bastard and doesn't even care about using children as long as he attains his goals. Also, before I move on from this part, I just want to point out that Amuro is just about to cap Char and put an end to this whole entire war right here. What a fucking G. I also haven't talked about this new character yet. His name is Gunye, and he's sort of this emo kid, cyber new type, produced by Neo Zeon. Throughout the run of the movie, he gets picked on by all the other pilots for being a fake new type, and then also just being sort of a jerk. Honestly, he pretty much gets clowned on throughout the entire film's runtime. Although, to his credit, he's the most stable cyber new type that we've ever seen. He goes through battle and never loses cool, causing a freak out or giant explosion. He also at one point just pretty much calls Char a pedo, which fair enough, Gunye, but that's sort of the pot calling the kettle black, isn't it? He spends most of the movie training Kess to use mobile suits and being her bodyguard, which gives him ample time to fall in love with a 13-year-old.
Once I get hold of that new Gundam, I'll have the power to defeat Char. Then nothing will stop me from having quests all for myself.
Gunye is like 19, so let's just have him cool as jets with the whole Kess thing. Also, my man, what is this strip? Like, what the fuck is he wearing here? He says earlier he's following orders with his outfit, but my guy, who ordered you to dress like a 19th century page boy? I guess Char just really keeps him around to mess with him. Directly after this confrontation on Londinian, Char launches a surprise attack on the Federation fleet using his disarmed ships. This is a totally devastating attack that wipes out a ton of personnel, including Kess's father, who's the one who worked out this entire deal. Luckily, Bright and Amuro are smart enough to figure out that the disarmed fleet is just a bunch of decoys. I also just love that Gundam had this idea to use giant balloons as decoys. It makes sense to do in space battles, and it's just a unique idea that I don't think I've seen anywhere else. This surprise attack leads into the final hour of the film, which is a roller coaster ride of action and thrills that fills out the rest of the runtime. We get awesome mobile suit battles, Char being really creepy, cool new type stuff, Bright leading a ground force onto Axis to blow it up from the inside. It's all just really fun to see unfold. And while there are some issues with pacing, as Gundam seems to struggle with eternally, I think they use their time well. If I had to pick apart anything with this storyline, it would be that they tried to inject a familiar Gundam arc into the movie, with Kess defecting and joining the Zeon forces. Unfortunately, Char's Counterattack is also a very stacked movie as far as content goes, so her character really just comes off as rushed, and her motivations don't really get to be explored in full. She really just comes off as a teen that's way out of her depth. Gunye's infatuation with her is also super rushed. It would be creepy no matter the amount of time devoted to it, but as it is in the movie, they have like 4 scenes together. Of course, Kess is there to shine a light on how depraved and manipulative a liar Char has become. I guess the trauma of his time as Quattro Bagina has really messed with him. Like, he doesn't even try to be sneaky with his manipulation in this movie. At one point, Kess tells him to get rid of his pseudo-girlfriend and exile her from the ship, and he's just like, yeah, alright, totally.
I'd do anything. I'd give up my life, Captain.
Alright, I'll forget about both Lala and Nanai.
Char is such a sleazeball in this movie, it's really the final evolution of his character as a villain. Overall, Char's Counterattack tells a story that is the final culmination of all the themes, characters, and events of the prior series. While I don't recommend watching it without at least seeing the original Mobile Suit Gundam or the compilation movies, you can just go into it blind if all you're looking for is some great mecha action. Don't be surprised if you come away a little confused though. Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack is probably the best looking piece of Gundam media that I've looked at on the channel. It's very apparent that the budget was put to good use here. Animation is fluid, smooth, and super clean. It also looks amazing on Blu-ray, like the quality of animation here scaled up really well. There are some instances of film grain and imperfections, but those kind of give a certain feel to the film. In fact, I'd say the slight imperfections do more to elevate the product. The line work is impressively solid even when the action picks up, and the mechs here all look great. I think one thing that really helps with the action not becoming a mishmash of shapes and colors is the designers gave all the mobile suits easily recognizable silhouettes and color schemes. It's always easy to pick the new Gundam or the Sazabi out in any frame, same goes for the Ragazi whenever it's in use. Even the grunt suits like the Federation Jegan or the Neo Zeon Gyaradoga stand out well in battles because of differing sizes and color schemes. Speaking of sizes, the Sazabi is absolutely gigantic, and having the escape pod in the head is a really cool and unique touch for the series. The new Gundam is also pretty large, compared to the original RX-78, which only stands up to its mid-torso. Speaking of the new Gundam in particular, it may take the place of the Gundam Mark II in my heart as my favorite mobile suit design. The color scheme is so striking with the black, white, and red, and its wing-like funnel system is a unique hallmark of its design, setting it apart from other Gundams in the series. While the new Gundam has less flashy toys than something like the Double Zeta, which was decked out with more weapons than a 90s comic book anti-hero, it puts what it does have to great use. While it's decked out with the usual Vulcan machine guns and beam rifle, the real trump card of the new Gundam is its fin funnel system. The funnels can be controlled by the Psycho Frame and Pilot, and not only can they be used for offense, they also have the ability to form a prism-like shield to protect the pilot from damage. I am absolutely not a music major. I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to scoring, animation, and films. However, I find myself really enjoying the score of Char's Counterattack. The score incorporates bits of electronica into its orchestra, accompanying the swelling strings and brass with futuristic tones. Songs can go from hype battle tracks that push the action forward with a cacophony of sound backing the mobile suit destruction on screen, and within the same minute or two swing into a brooding track that keeps the viewer on the edge of their seat, hoping the heroes don't take a spare beam rifle shot. I really cannot instill the feeling that some of the scenes can give here. Just watching the battle between Neo Zeon and Londo Bell while the new Gundam theme plays is so hype and so tense at the same time. I really do feel like I could put the OST on and just vibe with it, getting almost as much enjoyment out of just listening as I could watching the movie in full. Overall, it really reminds me of the Zeta Gundam OST. The sound design for the mechs is also top-notch here. The engine blasts as they fly by the camera or take off from a mobile suit deck overpower everything else. The Vulcan machine guns are punchy and feel like they could do real damage. The beam rifles and ship laser cannons now sound impactful, and explosions in general are just as impressive. It really creates a soundscape that I appreciate, and I hope the franchise keeps up with this level of quality and dynamic sound in future entries. Also, beam sabers just sound like giant lightsabers now, which is all good. It sounds really cool. Altogether, the presentation from a technical and artistic standpoint are really a high point of Char's Counterattack. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that it's up there with films like Akira as some of my favorite looking animated films. And while I don't think it looks as good as Akira, which is one of the best looking animated films of all time, I just can't help but venerate this movie. I mentioned very briefly earlier that I had watched both the English dub and subtitled original Japanese version of Char's Counterattack. The first time I watched through the movie, it was in its original form, Japanese audio, and it was a blessing to have the voice actors of Amuro, Bright, and Char all back and doing amazing jobs of reprising their roles. When capturing footage for this video, I decided to watch through the dubbed version as well, in order to be able to take notes more easily and not have subtitles on screen. Well, I have to say I'm really glad I decided to do this, because while the dub isn't absolutely terrible, whoo boy, it sure could be better. Dubbed by Bandai Entertainment back in 2002, this version of Char's Counterattack features some very stilted dialogue, particularly by Gunye, played by Kirby Morrow.
New Type Labs Director. Operations Officer, ma'am.
And this isn't a knock on any of these actors' skills by any means. I figure this all comes down to direction, as that is incredibly important when it comes to voice acting in particular. Mr. Morrow has a long career and notably also voices Trowa in the dub of Gundam Wing, and even Goku in the Ocean dub of Dragon Ball Z. Similarly, Brad Swale returns as Amuro, and he probably has the best line reads of the entire dub.
You're full of yourself!
Hathaway sounds pretty good as well, and Bright's voice actor does a fantastic job, though there are a few silly line readings here and there. My point is, the cast is actually full of pretty good, experienced actors. However, the dub just really comes across as hilarious at times.
Change our course, sir. Big battle.
Uh-oh. Unless you get the apogee motors fixed, we're headed straight for it.
So why do you keep getting in my way?
I'm not.
I don't care what you say. That's the way I see it. You should get off this ship right away.
Dummy.
There! This one's a real rock! Ah! Who's gonna cook your favorite pasta? Don't you remember? Espionage.
I feel sick and scared. It feels like a bunch of people are coming into me.
Yeah, I really have nothing to say about that. There's also some great one-off lines with background characters. I already mentioned the shuttle pilots being very stereotypical sounding, but there's also this guy on the bridge of the Rockylum that tells Hathaway to write his will. It's just super weird, man. I love it.
If you're able to remain seated calmly, you're welcome to observe.
Yes, sir.
Write your will on this. I'll send them all off in a capsule.
Okay.
And add a lock of hair for your mom.
Okay.
I just love this line. It's so silly sounding. There's so much stuff you can take out of context in the dub. A lot of it would make really great Twitch alerts or something. Honestly, while it's really funny, I don't think I recommend watching the dub as your first experience with Char's Counterattack. I cherry-picked some funny lines to show you, but a lot of the side characters just sound kinda bad, and the delivery of exposition can be incredibly stilted. If anything, watch the original Japanese and then watch the dub for a good time. Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack is a lot of things. It's a landmark in the industry showing that animation could do very well at the box office. It's a culmination of 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears poured into it by the team at Sunrise, directed by Tomino, on a project that they're very passionate about. It's also a turning point for Gundam. The original characters that began the entire saga finally had their end, and a good, satisfying one at that. The Universal Century had been through many conflicts. The Earth has been forever changed, for better and for worse. So it's a little bittersweet knowing that Char's Counterattack bookends what I consider to be the original saga of the Universal Century story. And while there's plenty of material left that will flesh out the universe, like War in the Pocket and 8th MS Team, the book on Amuro and Char is closed, at least for now. And what a way to close the book, huh? I watched this film twice in a week, which is something that's incredibly rare for me. And even on the second watch, I found myself drawn into the action and story, absorbed into the spectacle that was unfolding before me. At times, the storytelling can be a little sloppy, exposition is thrown around sort of willy-nilly, and if you haven't been paying attention to the UC storyline over the last 3 anime, then I could see being completely lost. But for someone like myself who's made an effort to take notes on all these shows, it really was a treat. And while I do still feel that the runtime tends to drag a tiny bit on the back end, it is genuinely impressive how much Sunrise was able to cram into the 2-hour runtime. I said before that the Kess and Gunye arc feels rushed, and really the only thing that I think I might change if I were to make my own perfect version of the storyline. As a capstone to the saga of the original Universal Century, Char's Counterattack is a flashy, bombastic film, and I believe it gives Gundam fans exactly what they want. As for myself, this movie has invigorated me to see where the rest of this franchise goes. Next time, we'll be taking a look at a more personal story. Join me soon for a look into Mobile Suit Gundam 0080, War in the Pocket. Thank you for watching, and have a great night. Hey there, and welcome to the ending card of the video. If you made it this far, wow, like, thank you. I appreciate you coming by. I'm gonna throw some videos up here on the screen. The Gundam Retrospective has been really awesome. I've been having a great time making these videos, so thank you guys very, very much. I really do appreciate it. Remember to sub and like if you enjoy it. You can also check me out on Twitch and Twitter. I'm planning on being more active there in the future sometime. So we'll see you next time. We're going to do War in the Pocket. The next video is actually going to be probably a gaming video. I'm going to try and alternate them. So it'll be a gaming video next. And then after that, we'll be doing War in the Pocket. I think the plan is to do War in the Pocket, F91, and then Stardust Memory, and then Victory, and then G Gundam. I'm just going to keep going forever. Like, at some point there, I will probably take a break from Gundam, and do something like, I really want to watch, like, Armored Warrior Votoms, or something like that, or, like, Outlaw Star. So we'll probably do that at some point. This is going on a really long time now. So, yeah, just if there's a break in Gundam videos after we get out of the Universal Century and into G Gundam, just know that the Gundam videos aren't over. I'm just, you gotta, variety is the spice of life, you know what I mean? Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you really enjoyed And we will see you guys next time. Remember, gaming video next probably. So thank you again, and have a good day.